Hello, this is Dennis Anderson with Anderson CPA again. Just wanted to take a few moments to kind of try to help get ourselves prepared for the upcoming tax season. Um, I know Christmas is coming, so we're all looking forward to that. It's just that we just don't like what comes afterwards, which is tax season. And in the year of COVID-19, it has been extremely trying this year to try to get through and deal with things like normal, and I'll be looking forward to getting back to normal. But we have to kind of prepare ourselves to be ready for an abnormal tax season, and that means that it's going to be even more imperative for clients to get the tax organizer and also to use it properly to take and be able to help organize their information because we may be required to take and do virtual type meetings to where we do video conferences or maybe just over the phone and people come pick it up. So we're going to be taking and working on getting these tax organizers put into your portal. The ladies up front have the information to be able to take and tell you how to get to your portal and log you in so they can help out with getting you connected to it. And we'll take and get these organizers stuck in there as well too, as we can, so that way there you can help get your stuff together. So because this year we're going to really need everyone to bring their stuff in ahead of time. And I'm not talking just one day. We're going to need to have it as much time as possible. We're going to be shooting for, 1 week when we get real close to it at the very beginning, because it's kind of hard to take and do too much more than that. But once we get to where we have people that have appointments for, mid-February on, or the first weekend, second week in February on, it should be that we should be able to get this stuff from you, 2 weeks before your appointment, so that way there we have time to try to process it and have it ready to where when we go over the return with you, we can print everything out and not take and end up making a confusing environment even more confusing, because we're going to probably end up having to do just like the way the doctor's offices have done, to where there's a phone number that you call when you come up to the office. They'll call you back and let you know that, hey, you can come in, and we'll take and try to keep everybody spread out as much as we can because of this wonderful COVID-19 mess, until it clears up to where everybody's said, okay, we're going to get back to normal, and we're not going to do this crazy mess anymore. But we'll have to just wait and see until that gets here. We're going to have to work with what the authorities take and tell us to do. So what we've done is, I know nobody likes doing it. We've had it available for many years, but it's the good old tax organizer. And yes, it's a lot of pages, and some of the pages you don't have to fill out. So I wouldn't print them all out unless you had to print them all out. So what I recommend you do is just go through and see if the page is going to need you to put something on it, print it out, and if not, move to the next one and just print the ones that have something that need to be printed on it. So I've got the organizer on my desktop here. I'm going to share it with you so you can see it real quick. And I'm going to run through it real fast because it really should be a fast process for you to take and do this once you get all those year-end important tax documents together. I'm not going to need the first page back because that's your mailing address page. The second page is a thing telling you to include all supporting documents, the W-2s, 1099s for your tax appointment, so that you get them to us. It's also got our office phone number, so you can call if you have any questions. Pretty much the default answer is, when in doubt, include it. If we don't need it, that's great. If we need it and don't have it, that sucks. Privacy policy, we don't take and ship your stuff out to anybody. Pages 4 and 5 are our engagement letter, where you're telling us you want us to do your tax return. So we're going to take and be working on it. So you'll take and you don't have to print out the 4th page, but the 5th page is the one where you sign it. So you can print that one out and sign it and put that over to the side. And then page 6 is a real good page because it's a checklist. it's got everything listed that you had on the return last year, so you can mark the stuff off, and then it's got some extra little items that just to be memory joggers that may be helpful, may not. But one thing everybody's going to get is they're going to have a notice 1444, which is your notice of how much of the Corona check you got. It's not making it taxable. It's just to make sure you got it all. So please include it, because if you didn't get everything you were supposed to, when we fill out the return, you will be able to pick up any additional funds that were left there. Then you got your W-2. So, once you find your W-2 and you stack, you're like, yeah, I got my W-2. Boom, there it is. I ain't got to worry about that. And all. So let me start going through the other pages real quick. So you'll have the checklist and all, but the next page you come to is the one where you don't have to write your W-2 wages here. You can just write see attached. If you have a retirement account, if you pull money out of your retirement account, you'll have a 1099-R for it. You can just put it over there with the W-2 and say see attached, and I'll get the information off of that, because with the COVID relief that was out there, you were able to pull money out of your retirement accounts. You were also able to not have to pull money out of your retirement accounts for the ones that were required minimum distribution age. So there's a lot of things that changed on it. But as far as the organizer's concerned, it's just write down see attached and put the form to the side, because I want the form anyway. If you had a 1099 miscellaneous, if you got one of those, you can write the name down and write see attached and put it to the side. A new form for this year is called the non-employee compensation 1099, or the 1099 NEC. That's for all your subcontractors or your non-employee compensation. If you have one of those, you can write the name down and say see attached and put it to the side as well with all those other things you're going to send us to. Interest income and dividend income. You'll have a statement from your bank. That's a 1099 INT. You can put that in the stack and say see attached. If you have a stock account that is not a retirement account, it's an after-tax account, which means you got to pay tax on the dividends, interest, and the gains and loss from the sale of stock. You'll have a brokerage statement that you'll get. These probably don't come out till mid-February to late February. So don't be surprised if it's not sitting there with you for January 31. You're still responsible for putting it on the return. So that's why if it's listed here showing some numbers, it's like, well, where's that statement? So you'll know to find it, put it over here, make sure it's got cost basis for your sale transactions, which that's normally on the 1099B part. And all. So you put those over to the side and move on to the next page here, which the next page is for your people that have a little small sole proprietorship, Schedule C business. If you're not keeping up with it, except with actual stacks of receipts, you can fill this area out as a summary sheet to send us the information. If you have your accounting work on an Excel spreadsheet, you can actually send us the Excel spreadsheet. If you're using QuickBooks to keep up with your accounting work for your little business, you can make it as an accountant's copy and send that to us through Intuit's services. If you have a fairly recent version of QuickBooks, if it's an older version, you may have to make a backup of that file and upload it to the portal, which the ladies up front can help you with uploading stuff to the portal. But the main thing is you're going to see the numbers that we used on last year's tax return for everything, along with the space for the current year. But if you got it on QuickBooks, you can just write see QuickBooks, and that way there we'll know to look for a QuickBooks file from you. The detail 5 sheet is just the other expense item sheet where you have a list of what we had on last year for it, and you can add new ones. So, you can fill that out, unless it's all on QuickBooks. If you had a rental activity, you'll have a Schedule E attached from the previous year. Sometimes people got rid of the rental property and this still shows up, but if you did sell it, you just write sold in 2019, and that'll get rid of it to where we'll know that's not supposed to be reported in 2020. If you sold it in 2020, then you're going to have a contract where you sold it. So you can say sold in 2020, see attached contract, and put that contract in the stack of stuff to send us as well too. But it's just like the Schedule C. You got last year's numbers and a spot for the current year. This here is your mileage deduction for your people that are self-employed. Schedule C people, we're going to have a mileage number that you'll need to fill in here. And of course, also for your home office deduction, if you're wanting to do that, you have a room that is exclusively for business purposes. You can fill this information out with the square footage of the house, the square footage of the office, house expenses for the whole house, expenses just related to specifically to the office. If you got a mortgage on the house, it says mortgage interest, you can just write C attached, and you'll have a wonderful form called a 1098 from your bank. Just make sure it's got your insurance and property taxes listed on it too. If it's escrowed, and you can put that in the stack, and you got those spots filled in already. You don't have to write anything except C attached and all. But utilities would be like your power bill. Well, that would be for the whole house. So you'd have to put that over in the whole house category. The next is for people that itemize. If you got statements that you're going to take and attach, one of the statements that people might attach is a statement from their church showing their charitable contributions, and a lot of them send you a letter. You can just say see attached and put that over here wherever you see the church thing, the church contribution. But for things like your charitable mileage that you drove, you might want to go ahead and put that number in on this sheet. And of course, this has got 3 other detail sheets, so let me go to that. So here's those extra detail sheets for it, which detail 1 is your medical expenses. So you got a spot to put in current year numbers, last year numbers. Same thing about your property taxes. You got a spot to fill in for the current year, and you got last year's numbers. Charitable, this is where I'm saying you could say just see attached instead of writing it in. And also, I got those there filled out, so that's good, nice and quick. Moving right along. This right here is the page where it's talking about your mortgage interest on your house. So again, this is stuff that was on that 1098 form over here that I've already put in the stack. So you can just write C attached on that page, or not even print it out because I've already got it somewhere else, which would be fine. Next page. This here's your dependent care. So in other words, if you have a daycare statement, you don't have to fill this out. Just make sure the daycare statement's got the name of provider, address, tax ID number, and the amount you got paid, or amount you paid for it. So that way there we can include it on the tax return. If you have a child that's going to college, you're going to have one of those wonderful statements, a 1098-T. They send it to the kid. But if you're claiming the kid on your return, it's yours. You're the one claiming the personal exemption, so you're the one that gets the tax credit for the education expenses. So just make sure you include it and put it over here so we can take and have it there. Now, the things that aren't included on the 1098-T are going to be books and required equipment. So you had to buy books for your kid. If you got those receipts, just write in books and then the dollar amount you spent on books, equipment, and the dollar amount you spent on the equipment. I mean, you could spend $750 on books. Some people have told me they spend that per semester on books. I'm like, holy cow. Same thing about the equipment. The school requires her to have a laptop or him a laptop. So that would be equipment, and you would just put it on there, and that would take care of that part as well too. You just need to make sure you have those receipts if the IRS ever audits you. Now the next few pages are going to be a little bit more annoying than in the past, and it's a bunch of yes and no questions, and there's going to be some extra ones in there due to the COVID relief, and sometimes they might even be repeated on a couple of different places. But the thing is this is just so you can fill them out and answer them. They may help generate some extra question on our part to get more information from you about something, but we won't know if you don't take and answer them. If you don't know what it means, just put a question mark next to it, or sit there and leave it blank because chances are, if you don't know what it is, it didn't apply to you. For businesses that did get the PPP loan program, we'll need to know information about regarding it. How much did you get? How much did you get forgiven? And that last question about how much got forgiven may be a trick question because you may still be waiting on that to come in. And who knows, they'll probably change the rules on what we have to do about that as well too. But we got three pages of questions before we get to the basic demographic pages again. Which the basic demographic pages, unless your address is changed, you don't have to fill this out. If you don't see your email address on here, you can put that on here. You can make sure we got your cell phone number. You make sure that we have all your kids listed. If you added one to the bunch, you'll just put the new one down. If you got rid of one, congratulations, and we'll get that sucker off of there so we can take and remove them from here as well. And here's where it did that COVID-19 implication question set again. I'm like, okay, so they're going to make sure that's covered. You can contact the office to find out when your appointment time is, so you can actually write it down here on your organizer if you don't have it written down somewhere else. But our appointment program should take and be sending you an email and text message about your appointments before they happen. But please feel free to contact us to verify it. So, and now once you get all this good stuff done and put together, and you're like, it's got to get to me somehow. And if you can scan it all in into one big file, then that's great. That means you can just upload the one thing through the portal and that'll get it to me. If you're like, I don't have a scanner, but yet you're close enough to our Pageland office or the Monroe office, just bring it by the office and let the girls there scan it in. They'll take and get it scanned in for us, and they can give you back your original so you don't have to worry about them getting lost. If you want to send it to us through the mail, then what I'd recommend is you take and keep a copy for yourself, but on your source documents, you might want to make a copy and send us the copy of those, and you keep the originals. That'd be good as well too. So that way there, when we get it, when we get through processing the return, if we have to do everything virtually, we can upload it to the portal for you to sign and be done with it that way there. So let me scan it in real quick so I can show you what I'm talking about, having it as one big scan file real quick. So that way there you can kind of see what I was quickly talking about, scanning this stuff in right quick. So let me pause this for a second. Okay. I've got it scanned in, so let me share the scanned in file with you real quick so you can kind of see what I was talking about see attach and all that other stuff. So like I said, this is that page that you sign of the engagement letter, so you can just sign it and date it. And we move on down to the next page. Here's where I use the checklist to start stacking those source documents up, and some things that I didn't have, I just kind of scratched through it. So that way there it is. Here's where I was talking about using the word see attached. You know, you got the W-2 in the stack, don't worry about it. Retirement, 1099 miscellaneous and NEC, dividend income statement, see attached, which your brokerage statement would have that. Here's where I was talking about see QuickBooks. If you got your business on a QuickBooks file, then fine, just send us a copy of that. The accountant's copy is great. Rental activity that, hey, that was gone last year. That shouldn't even be here. Okay, sold in 2019. Good. We'll make sure it's gone. Here's where I was talking about writing in your mileage, because you probably did do a little bit more driving this year than last year, but and all. Home office deduction, square footage of the room, total square footage of the house, mortgage interest and property taxes, see attached, specific items for the whole house, some repairs that were done just to the office, you know, maybe somebody broke something in the office and you had to fix it. Here we go with the Schedule A for itemized deductions, you know, mileage for charitable purposes there, which is different from the other one. And then, of course, here's where we got those extra spots to fill them in. So you don't have to include all the receipts for the doctor's office. If you got them totaled up, bam, 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 that's all I need. Uh, you got your property taxes for your vehicles, you know, Ford, Chevy, and Toyota, you got to put them in there. You just write them down, and dang, there you go. Church or your charitable statement for that. Okay, see attach on that one, but you wrote out these other two because you had those two. That's fine and dandy with me. Good Shepherd Ministries for non-cash or goodwill donations. Bam. Uh, this is just a word mortgage interest on the form 1098. Oh, yeah, I've already got that in the stack of stuff that we're giving you. So see attached. Just with Bank of America, make sure if you do send us a copy that you do have the one for with the property taxes on it, because Bank of America's was bad about being on page 2 instead of on the front of the form, on the actual form 1098. Here's where I was talking about the daycare statement, college education expenses. You got your 1098T that you finally got from the kid. You can go ahead and put that on there. See attach on that, but I had books and equipment. Bam, bam. Uh, Here's those questionnaire pages that I was talking about where you can go through and just answer them. And like I said, it's a little bit more aggravating this year because you got 3 sheets of it, but it's just because there's so much more stuff that happened this year with the COVID and whatnot. And here's where we can update your demographic information, your phone numbers, your email, the kids, the COVID questions again. And here's where I was talking about all those source documents, because we still want to get a copy of them. That's why it's like, there's no need to put that the W-2 had $37,000 of wages on it. Just say see attached and put the W-2 on there. Same thing for your retirement withdrawals, the 1099Rs, bam, there they are. What's this? This interest income statement from the bank, or it may be a substitute one. This here's a sample brokerage statement to where if it's this blurry, that's not going to be helpful. But the sample I got was a blurry copy to start with. I don't know why it did that. Maybe just for security reasons, because it was somebody's actual one and they just blurred it all out. But yours doesn't need to be blurry when you send it to me. This is the sales section of stocks and bonds, so that just making sure there's cost basis on there is a important thing, because if not, we'll end up having to talk to that broker about it. The form 1099 miscellaneouses, if you had those, just include them as well. This new non-employee compensation form, that's the mortgage interest statement for the 1098 form. Sample letter of charitable contribution from the church or from your church. And then, of course, the form 1098T, which is for the college statement from your kid if they're going to college. So you just need to look for that, or maybe even yourself, because there is education credit there too. So just want to have all those put together, and then you can take this one file and upload it through our portal, and that'll take care of getting it to us. So it's not that dreaded of a task to use the organizer, because the organizer is going to have this checklist page, which is going to help you make sure you've gotten them all together before you send it to us, because we're going to really need to try to make sure we have the complete puzzle, all the puzzle pieces, before we start getting them a little bit at a time. So if you could just try to complete the organizer and, send it to us once you got it all complete, or bring it by the office and they'll scan it in for you to where you don't have to worry about doing the scan in stuff. You can just bring it in, or if you make copies of it, we got a mail slot on the blue door at the office in Monroe. You can put it inside an envelope and slide it through that mail slot, and it'll be here when we come by and come in the morning and pick it up. So I just wanted to help you go through this real quick so you can see that it's not that you're preparing the return, it's just that you're making sure that all the stuff that we need to prepare the return is included. So that way there we can hopefully have it to where people use it a little bit more, so to where we can take and get this thing processed a little bit better this coming tax season, because I'm expecting it to be extremely interesting, and I hope it goes through quickly. But I don't expect them to extend tax season again like they did last year, but who knows what they're going to do at this point. So hope y'all all have a good Christmas, and we look forward to helping you guys out during tax season. And if you have any questions, you can just call either office at 980-269-8350. Thank you.